Well, good morning, Lionhearts. It's your old pal, Jordan the Lion. How are all of you today? Excellent. Well, you can tell by our first shot that we are on the road, and what we're doing today is something way out of the ordinary. You know, I love to go visit famous graves, and I love to tell stories about people from history that I have an affinity for. Today, we're going to talk about one of those people, and in a weird way, we're going to their grave. But that's not necessarily what this vlog is about. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to go to a place called Alcor that practices cryogenics. And the baseball player Ted Williams, at the end of his life, instead of being cremated or being buried, opted for a different answer to his final resting place in the hopes that there might be life after death. So today we're going to Alcor. I'm going to take a tour of what this is all about, freezing your body after death in the hopes that someday it can be brought back to life. I'm going to tell you why Ted Williams chose this option, and hopefully I'll get to show you a good bit of this tour. Daze with Jordan the Lion begins now. So I've always kind of been fascinated by this, especially after hearing the whole Ted Williams thing when it happened. I think that was back in like 2002. So this is just, you know, this is something that's different, and it's an alternative option to being cremated or being buried. So it's just, you know, something I wanted to film and show other people in case maybe one of those two options aren't what they're looking for. So I think I may have misspoken, called it cryogenics, but the process of freezing the body is actually cryonics. And this is Robert Edinger, publisher of The Prospect of Immortality in 1964, thus earning him the title of Father of Cryonics.
Du Hong is our first Chinese national. When she came in, China went nuts. Then the government said no, but they now have two cryonics facilities in China to serve their citizens, which is good. And then Dick Jones up there at the top, we actually have his Emmy for a skit that he wrote for the Carol Burnett show that are in cryopreservation at the moment. Before we moved to Scottsdale from Riverside, but the very first person to be cryopreserved, and you can go all the way down, a lot of our students like to do that.
Yeah, wow.
And you know, the very first.
So this has been going on for over 50 years. I mean,
well, even Benjamin Franklin, one of our best founding fathers, wanted to be preserved. He thought he had to be in a vat of wine. He knew there had to be a preserving agent. I'm a Ted Williams fan.
So here you can see, as she was saying, that this goes all the way back to Benjamin Franklin.
So it starts from clinical death, when they declared you deceased. You got to think of cryonics as an extension of emergency medicine. We can't fix what ails you today, so we're going to put you in stasis until that technology is available. So it ends, you know, starting with the clinical death, stabilization, the medical, we're adding our cryoprotectant. I believe step 8 would be revival, but that's about 50 to 150 years into the future. She's the head of our trust department and handles all the case reports.
And she started everything?
She and her husband did. Her husband's already in cryo, and her mom and her father-in-law are actually, they started Alcor for her father-in-law.
Okay.
Since Alcor is such a new science, if we can't find the components we need, we have to manufacture them ourselves. They have 3 more in the back there. This is the one they use for my stuff, for doing the doers and things like that. An example as far as what we use. How heavy it is, it's actually quite functional, but you'll see throughout.
So you said that's for the ice bath?
Yeah, they attach it to the ice bath so they can put an IV up at the top.
Okay.
So they needed some kind of component to attach it, so that's what's nice about the 3D printer, is that you are very flexible as far as everything that you can do. That's my new favorite. As you come down this way, we have more pictures. I like to point out certain ones, like this is Thomas Donaldson. He went all the way up to the California State Appeals Court to allow him to do a physician-assisted suicide. He had brain cancer and he was a mathematician, didn't want it eating up his brain. They told him no. He lived another 10 years, and then he got to Arizona. He was in Australia and got his cryopreservation. And because he was in Arizona, he had gotten excellent cryopreservation. We were able to do a cryoprotectant solution very well for him. And with your membership, you get a memory box. It's about the size of a case of paper, and you put in little things like memoirs, photos, little things like that that we believe will help you with the revival process, remembering who you are. I like to point this gentleman out because his mom, he's been in preservation almost 30 years, and his mom sends him a Christmas card and a birthday card every year, which goes into his box, which I thought was very sweet.
Now, do they believe that when somebody will be brought back in the future, will they have a memory?
Yes.
They will?
Want to bring you back to your normal, healthy state of being. Honestly, I believe they will reverse aging, because our oldest patient is 100 and she was just a couple weeks shy of 102. So we literally have a 100-year difference between the oldest and the youngest patient. It's a prototype. It's not what we use now. What we use now are the baskets that the firemen use when they do rescues on the mountains there. Where are you from?
I'm originally from Ohio, but I live in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay, okay. Well, local, we see all the mountains there. People go up and hike up there, they get themselves stuck. Usually in the middle of summertime for some ungodly reason. So we use those baskets. So this is just for educational purposes. Well, we want you in Arizona when you expire. If you're in Arizona, we can get you to the lab within 40 minutes, and that gives you a very good preservation because we're able to begin right away.
Right.
If you can't get to Arizona, we do what we call standby. Basically, we go to your location and we just literally stand by you until you can begin. Can I ask, is that how they did Ted Williams? Because I know he passed away in Florida. Yeah, most of the time people knew that they wanted to be signed up, and we have a heads up.
So that was a decision made before he passed or after he passed away?
Just like before.
Okay.
Yeah, most people, we would want you to tell us that you're sick so we can get there. Alcor can be bedside about 83% of the time of the patients coming in.
Okay, can this decision be made, like say the family after you pass? Maybe you didn't know you were going to pass away. Can they make that decision after?
But Alcor charges an extra $50,000 for what we call a third-party sign-up.
Okay, gotcha.
You don't have your contracts and funding in place, but you said, please make sure you freeze me. Like the lady that was 100 years old, she didn't sign up. She told her son, if you want to freeze me when I'm dead, I don't care. Until then, I'm not doing this. And that's okay to do. So
what's the story with the cooling mask?
Okay, well, once you get you're pronounced, we want to start cooling the body down right away, especially the head area. So this is supposed to be water ice. So we start covering you up with water ice, and this is 3D printed. So they'll pump in liquid nitrogen air into there while we're cooling your head down, because we want to cool your head down immediately. The patient is intubated. This is Lucas machine. We call it a thumper. It's basically a portable CPR unit. They strap it to the person. We start putting in the blood thinners because we want to keep oxygen in the body as long as possible while we're transporting you to the lab. And this thing, it's horrific to see, but it's out in action. This is the first time I've seen one of these things used this year. Wow. But the gentleman we used it on got a very good preservation because we were able to keep the blood flowing in his body as long as possible. One of the medicines we give the patients is blood thinners so that we can keep the oxygen in there. So once we get to the lab, then we go to the operating room after we get them transported to the lab. If you're farther away, like not in Arizona when you expire, this procedure varies because we have to ship you to Arizona, and there are certain, depending on how far you're away, depends on what procedure we use. But this is if you're in Arizona. The dry lab, this is where they do the assembling of the packs, of the solution, and everything like that. We like to keep at least 3 whole bodies worth of liquid cryoprotectant solution on hand. We're down to 1 body there, so they're getting ready to make some more solution. We're turning the body, basically it's into like plexiglass.
Okay.
Once you get down to liquid nitrogen temperature, the solution solidifies and it gets really hard. About 55% of the membership has signed up to freeze their whole body. 45% of the membership has signed up to do a neurocriopreservation, which is the head only. We detach the head from the trunk between the 6th and 7th vertebrae. Actually, that's part of the next part of the tour. Animal pet area. We're getting ready to transfer that room back there into another surgical suite, but until then, we take care of our pets here. It's obviously very small because we mostly just do cats and dogs.
Yeah.
We also have a chinchilla.
Have you done anything like horses or anything like that?
No, we've done a chinchilla, a rhesus monkey, and a turtle. Cryoprotectant solution.
So here's the operating room.
All right. So the patients come in through the back. We put them into that whole body table. The surgical room is not quite ready yet because we had just had a patient come in, so it's not quite assembled yet. The unit right there, the person comes in, we're covered in water ice. The gaps you see on the side is that we put liquid nitrogen vapor in there while we're working on the patient. Like I said, if the patient is a neuro, we detach the head from the trunk between the 6th and 7th vertebrae, and they go into the neuro unit. It's kind of in the back there, you really can't see that. For both procedures, you get your head shaved. 2 burrow holes are drilled in the back of the head, and we put these super sensitive microphones. We call them crack phones. It literally can hear cells cracking, one on each hemisphere of the brain, and then throughout the whole body, 2 or 3 throughout the whole body if you're a whole body patient. If it sounds like too many cells are cracking, because it's all monitored by the computer, they stop, let the body rest, and then continue on. There are several things going on at this time. We are taking your blood and body fluids out, we are putting the cryoprotectant solution in, and we're lowering your body temperature at the same time. There are several things going on at once. It takes about 4 to 6 people to take care of a person when we're cryopreserving them.
How often would you say that you probably do this a week?
We've had 11 patients come in this year, so about once a month.
Okay.
So we have one more patient that we're kind of watching that might be coming in before, we just got a text message from the doctor said she's not improving as quickly as they want, but she's not declining, so that was good.
Okay.
But you never know. We've had 11 people come in this year, and about 4 of them we were not expecting.
Okay.
So it happens. The big scanner you see back there, one of our members gave us $5 million research money, said, I want to see you use it. So that was our first purchase, and which is really nice. So then we could CT scan at least the neurals, the heads of the whole body patients and the neural patients to see how well they were cryopreserved for the staff in the future. It's basically a nice picture of this is the last state this person was in.
Can I ask you why some people would decide just to do the head and some do the full body?
It depends on, a lot of it's medical problems. Other ones, it depends on the person. A lot of people believe that, like if they have medical problems, they want just a brand new body.
Okay,
they believe that
that's what I was wondering.
Yeah, cloning technology and nanotechnology are the 2 technologies they believe will be part of the revival process. Cloning will grow your body back. It's your body just not used up by life. And then nanotechnology to repair what's left.
Okay, that totally makes sense.
And then because we have some people like to submit revival preferences. So we have...
Well, like you can say, I want this kind of body?
Well, some people have done that, but most of it is, don't revive me unless you can do my family, I have to save time.
Okay.
We have one gentleman, he was probably about 5'6", wanted to come back at 6'4".
Okay.
We have several transgenders who want to come back completely different.
Okay,
so there
that
are
makes sense.
Some people that are coming back much differently.
Well, yeah, I wondered because, I told you I had heard about this originally from Ted Williams. I'm wondering, Ted probably wants his young body back,
Oh, yeah. Exactly. Everything is video recorded, and then after the patient has put into cool down, we have a debriefing. Everybody who participated on the patient goes together, and we have a meeting. What went wrong? What went right? What we can do better? And then Linda Chamberlain types up the case report. And then she types up detailed from the time we got contacted to the time the person was put into the cool down unit. She types all of that up. And
that's great.
For each patient, there's a case report.
So we can make our B1, which is the first step.
Okay, you guys getting ready to make another batch?
Yep.
Okay. This is the back area. This is going to be turned into another surgical suite.
I'm getting a different way, bringing me through the back way for the next part of the tour. That's the room we were just looking in. And yeah, we're getting the behind the scenes. That's nitrogen in there, they said. This is where everyone's kept.
Yeah, so those were 111 are neuro, and the rest are all whole bodies, with 4 of them being neural with whole body. We detached the head from the trunk and froze both parts. Ted Williams is that way.
Okay.
It's not a very efficient procedure. We don't offer it anymore, but that's part of the learning.
Right, and you said you have 175 people in here?
Oh, and those rows right there.
So Ted Williams would be in there.
He is.
Wow. Isn't that crazy to think about? A guy who is considered, other than Babe Ruth, maybe the greatest hitter of all time, frozen and could possibly someday be revived. Do you ever have people that their family's been frozen that come and want to visit?
Oh yeah,
they do?
That's why we have the gallery. I can show you the gallery, but they're using it right now. But we have right in front of the whole, the patient care bay is a big, it's just open, and it's the whole wall is glass, so you can look into.
Oh, okay, so people can come visit. Okay.
This is what it looks like when we top off the dewars. I saw you took a picture of the little components that were in front of the dewars, these things. They don't require electricity to work. We lose power, which we do. We do have a generator out back.
Okay.
They just tell us how much liquid nitrogen's in each tank. They generally boil off about anywhere between 7 to 16 liters per week. They're really good. The old ones, the ones that we've been using since the 1970s, that's the 16 liters. They do not require electricity. They're just basically giant thermoses. So the patients are submerged in liquid nitrogen inside the dewar. So if we lose power, the patients are fine. The 4 whole bodies are 45 neurals. Our new doer, because half of the 55% of the membership is whole body, the board of directors were concerned about spacing in the patient care base. So this is our new design. This is called our super doer. Instead of 4 whole bodies, we can fit up to 11 whole bodies, and it takes up the same amount of floor space.
And you were telling me in the other room that you guys don't just accept everyone in every case, that there's like a board that does have to decide sometimes whether or not the person...
Yeah, for our third-party sign-ups or the last-minute cases, the board of directors has to say yes or no, we will accept this patient. I have seen them say no because, like there was one gentleman out of New York wanted to freeze his mom. If we froze their mom, he would not have any money left to live on because it would have taken all of his finances because he was living with her. So Alcor told him no, so we're not in it just to make money. And he went over to CI, CRYONICS Institute, which is a little bit less expensive. It was only $28,000 for a whole body. There's a good reason for all of that. Alcor is different because we break down so for the whole body, it's $200,000. We break that down into 3 categories. We put $25,000 into our standby account because we want to do standby on everybody. If we can't do it, we still put money into this account. Then we put $60,000. It costs $60,000 from the time you're pronounced to the time we get you to a doer to freeze your whole body. We put $115,000, a little more than half of it, into our patient care trust. Patient care trust was set up specifically to keep you in stasis, cover the cost of revival, repair, and rehabilitation into the new era. We're not going to just wake you up and kick you out. We got to let you know what all the new society rules are. The patient care trust is currently about $17 million. It's actually separated from Alcor, so if Alcor gets sued, they can't touch our patient care trust money.
So does Alcor make the people that are signing up for this verify any kind of finances so that if they get revived back that they would have something to live on, or how does that work?
No, but we do offer language for a trust. We call it the Asset Protection Trust, where you put funds aside for the future, and then if you get revived, you can take that funding with you.
Okay.
It's called the Asset Protection Trust.
Because you have to imagine some professions that people had may not be around anymore. I wonder.
We have quite a few people that have amassed a nice little tidy nest egg and would like to take some of that with them. So we offer that for them. They assemble this, and
They're called what?
Tubing packs. We put the cryoprotectant solution through this while we put them into the body. It's how we cool it out, the solution.
So they're doing a little photo shoot in there today, but this is where the family members can come and pay their respects.
Used by Dr. James Bedford in 1967. He had it made personally, and his family took care of him for a few years before a company called CryoCare took over. You have to top off the doers about every 2 weeks, and that can become burdensome after a while. You know how life is.
Yeah.
And then when CryoCare went under and Alcor got all of their patients, Dr. Bedford is safe and sound with us. He's been in preservation over 50 years now. Now, if you can imagine when he wakes up, he went in 1967. Think of how things are today.
I know.
And how it's going to be different. Neural unit, see the corner there? That's a neural pod. You can put 10 neurals, 2 to a shell, and 1 whole body and a quadrant.
So this is kind of the family waiting room, viewing room.
And that's actually bulletproof glass, and it's always locked. I don't have a key, just the tech staff and the CEO, the management has.
And we were actually already on the other side of that.
On the other side there. You got lucky today.
Well, this is quite a thrill. I heard about you on this tour. This is Linda. You are one of the founders of this, correct?
My husband and I started Alcor in 1972.
I think it's
now one of our patients.
And you will be as well?
Yes.
You're planning on it?
Yeah.
I think this is a really amazing thing that you've done, especially like in the name of science and the fact that, some people may get to live again. I think it's kind of an interesting thing. Have you had any problems with like people theologically complaining about it or anything like that, or?
Nothing serious. Occasionally someone says they wouldn't want to do this.
But no picketing or anything?
No picketing.
Good, because I often wonder about stuff like that as to, how accepting, when you talk about death, anything new that's out of the norm, I feel like is going to be questioned whether,
Yeah, that's true. But, we've come a long way in 48 years. When we first started, we were considered to be lunatic fringe. And now we're like cutting edge.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's been a sea change, and these days, usually when we go into a hospital, they're curious and they want to help, and they're very positive, as opposed to in the old days when you want to do what? No, we have to talk to our attorneys. You know.
Yeah. Now, I found out about it through Ted Williams. I'm a big baseball fan. Did that help the community get some, I guess, maybe a little bit more support, knowing that someone with his career and his history, that he would go into something like this?
You know what? I can neither confirm nor deny that he's a member.
Okay.
For legal reasons.
Right.
And so patient confidentiality.
Okay.
It's unfortunate because there's so much newspaper coverage.
Right. Well,
but our
I guess my question would be, when that was all talked about, did you see more interest come in here at all?
I'm not sure.
Or has it been always the same, just kind of a gradual process?
Yeah, I think just a gradual process.
Okay.
More than anything else.
Congratulations. Where do you see this going? Do you see any new processes on the horizon, or is what you guys are doing now, is that kind of like the best there is at the moment, or what's
at the moment? Work is continuing to be done. Our goal is to eventually have reversible suspended animation, just like in the movies. You can make an appointment, come in and have the procedure done, make an appointment for when you want to be reanimated. And
wow.
But it's not there yet. It's still experimental. Probably the most important advance in the last couple of decades is our ability to vitrify our patients as opposed to freezing them, crystallizing them.
Right.
And I think eventually what will happen is this will just become a medical procedure you go into the hospital for.
That's what I wondered.
And you won't have to have a little organization like Alcor who does this. It will eventually
be the norm in some cases,
it'll be
possibly.
the norm. I mean, hospitals are beginning to catch up to us. We just had an article that we saw last week where there's a study being done at a hospital in Baltimore,
Yeah, I think
was it?
Baltimore.
Where they're calling it suspended animation, but it really isn't. But they are doing a study there to take the person down in temperature in order to give them a couple of hours for people who have like gunshot wounds and stabbing, that sort of thing, and they're critical. This would give them a couple of hours to try to save their lives. And so they have the study going along. How long can they push it? How low can they take the temperature and all that kind of stuff? So it's a study that's going on right now, which once the results of that come out, I think it will do great things.
They're gonna look at
For people
CRYONICS
saying,
and
oh, gee, that's what Alcor's been doing.
Yeah. I really learned a lot here today, because a couple of the obvious questions that I think people would have is like, hey, what happens if you lose power? I love how much you thought that out, how everything's been worked out, and I really was kind of shocked by hearing that you guys sometimes will tell people, hey, we can't let you do this because, as she had said, somebody wasn't going to have enough money to live on if they did this. So it's very responsible of you to.
Oh, they said no.
So I thought it was very responsible that you look at so many different things as well as I had to ask about, what if people are revived, what do they do for income, and that some people have set money aside. So it's really great that you've thought so many things out.
Yeah, well, for most of us, this is very much a family thing. I have 3 family members in stasis, and although I think currently I'm the only one of the staff who actually have family members, we all have dear friends. This year has been a hard one for us. 2 volunteers that were very active went into stasis this year. So we all feel it personally. And
we lost a really good friend this year. Jerry has been awesome. I miss him.
So sad.
Yeah, so it's very personal for
But
us.
he got saved, so he got cryopreserved, so that was good.
Yeah, well, congratulations for what you're doing for people here. Yeah, thank you so much for the tour and for your time.
Yeah.
Well, that was a fantastic tour. All right, my friends, I hope you guys all enjoyed that, or if you had any questions about what this whole process was about, I hope that that answered them for you. The lady who gave me the tour was great. She just didn't want to be on camera, so if you're wondering why I wasn't moving the camera on her or whatever, that's why. Now let me tell you why Ted Williams decided to go ahead with this. Even though they are not able to confirm it or anything, everybody pretty much knows that he did. And the reason I know is because I saw interviews with his daughter saying that they did this. So here is the deal. When Ted was growing up, his parents really gave him no attention whatsoever, and so he really was a very distant person with all of his friends and eventually his many wives and his children. Now, Ted Williams was born half Mexican, and his mother was a great woman. She was actually known as the Angel of Tijuana because she worked for the Salvation Army and spent all of her time raising money and trying to help other people. However, Ted's parents, mother and father, both pretty much neglected him, and in fact I heard that never in his life did they ever see him play a professional game of baseball, which is almost unheard of for a guy who was so famous for being, if not the greatest hitter, maybe the second greatest hitter of all time. Now, like I said, Ted did not have the greatest relationships. He had a hot temper, and this really did not fare well through his marriages, but once he retired and became a father and had the time to actually get to know his kids and realize that his kids were going to be there for him through thick and thin, no matter how often he blew up or lost his temper or anything, they loved him regardless. And so Ted, throughout his later days, became heavily dedicated to his children, and especially his son John Henry, and would do anything for John Henry. In fact, a lot of people said maybe John Henry took advantage of this. John Henry is also cryogenically frozen because he passed away not too long after Ted, or in cryonics. So a lot of people believe that Ted would do really anything that his son wanted. And one of the things that eventually happened was the very last All-Star game that Ted attended, he didn't want to go. His health was really bad, and they came at him with various offers to honor him, and he just kept saying, no, I don't want to go, no, I don't want to go. And then finally somebody said, Ted, there's a company that'll pay you $100,000 to wear their logo on your shirt if you go. And he goes, I don't care about that. Would it help my son's business if I wore his logo on my shirt? And they said, well, yeah, of course. So he went, and that was actually his favorite day, a lot of people said, was how all these current players honored him, how everyone came out to honor him. And so basically in the end, his family said, you know, Ted was a lifelong atheist. He did not believe from the time he was a kid all the way up and through when he was in the military. He served in Korea, served his time, came back and played baseball, and then they called him back to go to war, and he didn't want to go because he said, I already served my time. And in that second time that he was called back, he was in he was a pilot. He was in a mission, and his plane got shot, and it was on fire, and he was going down. And they said even then he looked up at the sky and said, if you're real or not, I don't know, but if you are, take care of Teddy Baseball just this once. So they said he really, he was very distant to the idea of religion, and so in the end of his life, they said that the thing that he held on to most was family. And so when they found out about this process, they said that he was up for it because he basically thought that any small chance that in the future he and his children could be reunited was worth the chance. So that's why he chose to do this process, and that's why he's here, even though they technically can't confirm it. We all know that it is. So there you go. I hope you all enjoyed this vlog. Thank you for watching. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you all later from somewhere else. Goodbye.